Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate breakdown for September 15th. It is Friday. Week is almost over and we are one step closer to football. But before we get there, we got MLB DFS to talk about. Looks like we got a fun slate on our hands. What we're going to do is we're going to go over the slate from yesterday. Just a quick rundown. I know not that many people played. All the contests were way smaller. We had football going on, so we'll do a quick rundown there. Then we'll get into the projected ownership for pitchers and maybe some pivots to consider, followed by the same with stacks. So, without further ado, come join us at LineStar. Only $39.99 a month gets you access to all of our props, all of our DFS, all of the tools that I use and many others use to be profitable. And with that, come and get involved in chat. Chat helps tremendously. Just talking to people, picking up ideas, other ideas to be profitable, and there's some real smart guys in chat that can help you out. So, let's go. Let's play some DFS. Let's get to these perfect lineups. Oh, I gotta switch to good old MLB here. All right, so perfect lineup from yesterday. We got Cody Bradford, Kenta Maeda, and Yankees and Texas stack went nuts on the good old DraftKings. $800 less from all of the salary being used. Nice lineup, some correlation there. And Redman took home first, as well as Royal Payne. They both had 178.3. Maeda and Bradish combo with a Texas and New York stack got it done. And the good old trusty 5-2-1 construction once again did it. This is a lineup construction that we constantly see winning on DraftKings. So understand that. And now let's get into the FanDuel one. As I said, trying to go quick through that one as, not a ton of people were playing. All right, so we got Maeda. We got a twin stack and a little Texas stack. Got it done there, and we were quite a ways from using all the salary on FanDuel. In the winning lineup, we got Inverted Cheese taking home $10K. He had Maeda. He had a Twins and Texas stack with a one-off of Mr. Vladdy Daddy. Guerrero got it done. So a good old 4-3-1, which is another popular one we see on FanDuel. All right. Now, let's get into some ownership. Let's get over to DraftKings. And we'll get it done. All right, highest owned pitcher, Griffin Canning, 4,100. Look, Canning is probably a little too cheap here. LineStar's liking him at 2.1K. Almost, he's at like 17.5 projection. He's been very good lately with a FIP of 3, 27.6% K rate, just slightly up from what he's been doing at 26%. But the big thing here is just his FIP is way better than it has been, where it's been right around 4.27. Now it's 3 over the last 5. So he's been good. However, there are some scary things with it. He's allowing a lot of fly balls, not much soft contact. So when people are hitting him, they're usually, hitting him decently here. So that does worry me a little bit. The BVP numbers, personally, I wouldn't even look at, only 19 plate attempts, but it is, slightly of interest. The thing here is at 8,200, you're getting a combined K rate of 28.4, which is very interesting. So I do like Canning. I don't love that everybody's here. He is another pitcher that, he does have some real high highs, but his lows are real low. So with that type of volatility in his pitching, I don't like him. I don't love him at this ownership, but totally understand you going there. David Peterson next. He is definitely too cheap for his upside. However, upside is something we haven't really been able to see from him lately. He did have a great game last time out. He had a great game versus the Angels couple times out, but Mariners got to him, Atlanta got to him, Pittsburgh got to him, Cubs got to him. The one thing is with these earlier ones, he wasn't able to go very deep into the game since Pittsburgh. So his last 5 starts, he has been able to go, a decent amount of pitches. Now, if you can see, there's only really 2 usable UFC GPP type scores, and 17 still isn't quite there. Now, he is much better at home, averaging 52% more fantasy points at home. I like Peterson. I do worry that he's going high owned. He is not a guy I think I can trust. And going high owned, he's probably one of the guys I would consider getting off of. If he was low owned, I would be all over him, but at this ownership, I just don't know if I can. Next, Hunter Green. Hunter Green versus the Mets. Look, this guy has big time upside. We saw it last time versus St. Louis. Now, he hasn't been that good recently, 6.52 FIP, but he did just return from the IL, and he had a couple bad starts. His last 2, however, he seems to be getting it moving in the right direction. Now, 28 plate attempts, the Mets are hitting 391 off of him. So they have definitely got to him. They got to him last year, got to him earlier this season. I think Hunter Green is a good enough pitcher that he can absolutely get to the Mets, and I don't mind him. I did think that he would be a little bit less owned than he is. Now, the value, we at LineStar do have him in a nice spot. 2x value at 1,900. His ownership isn't crazy. I would absolutely consider him. Scooball, 2.2x, 19.7% projection. I think you gotta like Scooball in this situation. These Angels have been pretty bad lately. Shohei, still isn't in the lineup, and if he's not back, I think you really gotta like this lineup. Look, the Angels have been putting out a major league a minor league lineup. Now, he isn't as good away as he is at home. He is away here. He's averaging 27% less fantasy points. But look, this Angels lineup, 100 ISO, 250 WOBA, and striking out 27% versus lefties. These numbers are worse than the A's, worse than the Tigers. It is pretty much the worst offense in baseball at this point. Now, as far as a pitcher, 2.25 FIP over his last 5, 33% K rate. These are elite numbers at only 9K. He is extremely interesting. Zach Thomas, 6,200. People are really trying to get some value here. Thomas has been good. He's been okay his last 5. I think he's too cheap, but LineStar doesn't really like it, and I don't love it. Seth Lugo. Lugo's against the A's. We love to pick on the A's. I get it. I like it. I don't love it. I think pitching has just been tough, and he hasn't been working deep into games, only going 90 pitches or so. His K rate isn't super elevated. I just don't know if the upside is there with Lugo, even against the A's. Possible Cy Young Award winner here, Justin Steele versus the Diamondbacks. Look, the Diamondbacks are much worse versus lefties, but they don't strike out a ton, so the ceiling is limited. While he is a very good pitcher, the chance of him going 30 plus is very, very slim. Even 25 plus, I think, is fairly slim. But this dude is dealing 1.77 FIP over his last 5, 30% K rate. He is locked in. He's pitching very well. He's pitched very well versus the Diamondbacks in the past. So I like it. One thing, though, I got to bring up. He just put up 22 against them at home. He is now in Arizona, which is a much more hitter-friendly ballpark. So he's seen him twice in 2 weeks, and now in a more hitter-friendly park. I don't love it. I like it. I think 2.1x and getting different is a pretty interesting spot. I don't mind Steele whatsoever. I'm going to just skip Javier. I can't trust him. Lucas Giolito is one we got to talk about here. I am interested in Giolito. I think he's going too low owned. This is a guy that has some real high highs. He does have some low lows. But, you know, when he gets it together, he really gets it together. He's had a very good history versus the Rangers in the past. And I don't mind this one whatsoever when nobody is going there. He is a guy that can get you to upper 20s in fantasy points, and he's only 8,300 and very low owned. So I think he is very interesting. I also like Flaherty here, only 7,200. This is a big time series here. This is essentially a playoff series. They are playing to win the division here. Both these teams are very close here. Now, Flaherty has struggled recently. I do worry that maybe he can't work deep enough into this game, but I love the upside here. When he's on, he is a guy that really puts strikeouts together, and the Rays can strike out. So I think this one is interesting. With that being said, the projection doesn't like it, so to get it, you're going to have to force him in. But I think he's interesting. If I'm making a bunch of lineups, I will absolutely have some of Flaherty. Aaron Nola, I think he's a bit expensive. He is low owned, so I'm interested, but I don't love him at this price. He just doesn't have... I mean, obviously his ceiling games are really, really good, but we're not seeing that consistently lately. And over 10K, I think there's a lot of different places to go, even at lower ownership. Now, I don't mind it. Absolutely don't mind it. He is a very good pitcher and can beat anybody when he's on. And when he's on, he has these games like he did last time versus the Cardinals. 7 innings, 9 Ks, no earned runs. He is absolutely possible or capable of having that in St. Louis today, but he's not as good away. I'm just not feeling the Nola today. That's simple as that. Paft I don't love. Irving don't love. Newcomb don't love. Kirby's okay. I just don't love it against the Dodgers, but going as low owned as he is and as low owned as he will be while being way better at home, I think it is at least worthy to consider him. All right. I think that'll do it for DraftKings. Let's flip over to FanDuel to go over their ownership. Once again, it's Canning, Green, Skubal. Skubal is super, super interesting for me here at 11.8% owned. I think he's very interesting. Justin Steele, obviously interesting at only 2%. And Flaherty, pretty cheap at 2%. Giolito, very interesting at 2%. I think on FanDuel, there's a lot of ways to get different today. I don't know if I would want to face, a high-owned Canning, or too much Canning, I should say, in this situation where we know he's an inconsistent pitcher and the field is going there. I think there's just other ways we can get different. Hunter Green's ceiling is way higher than Canning, and he's cheaper and less owned. So I think that's more interesting as well. All right, guys, now let's get into the stacks, where the money is to be made. All right. Now, so game total wise, this only one that really sticks out is Colorado, but temperatures are cooler. It's not super, hitter friendly. What I think is very interesting is this Houston and Kansas City game has the same game total as Colorado. So we got to watch ownership here. If nobody's on that game and everybody's on Colorado, you know what the choice is there. All right. So projected ownership here for these stacks. We got Houston being the highest owned. They're against Greinke. Makes all the sense in the world. I like Houston today. Greinke, I mean, he's just pitching for a paycheck at this point in his career. San Francisco also comes up against Chase Anderson. I think that makes a lot of sense as well, especially if everybody's on Houston. Then I think Giants make a lot more sense. Projected wise, we got Houston. We got the Cubs versus Brandon Pfaff. Now, Pfaff is somebody that's been giving up some hard contact. He is a really good prospect. Has some strikeout stuff, but can give up hard hits. Cubs can absolutely take advantage of that. So I think that is very interesting, especially in a hitting-friendly park. Houston, Texas is popping up. I said I do like Lucas Giolito, and I do. He hasn't been great lately. 7.4 FIP over his last 5. Texas has great bats. I think this game is one of those very volatile spots where I want to play both sides. I want a little Giolito, and I want some Rangers bats. Obviously not in lineups together, in separate lineups, but I think that game is one that can really be pretty fantasy score friendly. Either Giolito crushes or the Rangers crush him. There's not really much in between ground in Giolito starts. He generally is really good or really bad. So it's definitely an interesting spot for me. Don't love going to the Dodgers versus Kirby. Kirby's just really good. Limits walks, limit guys on base. So the Dodgers will have to hit very, very well to blow Kirby up. Just doesn't happen much. Now, super low ownership, so at least a little interesting, but just don't love it for a pricey stack versus a very good pitcher. Tampa Bay versus Flaherty. Flaherty's another one. I said I like Flaherty, but it's another spot where it is some, high variance where Tampa Bay is good enough of an offense, and this game is going to play a little bit more like a playoff game with high intensity on every single pitch. So I think it is interesting, but that intensity may keep scores a little bit lower. So I like Tampa. Just don't love it because I do worry that this game will play more like a playoff game. Colorado versus Webb. Look, Webb is a very, very good pitcher, but it's Colorado. You never know what will happen with that elevation. And Colorado has some sneaky, fun, young bats. Although they're not great. San Francisco makes sense. Minnesota, I think, is pretty interesting here. Where did we see them? All right, there it is. Schultens, 6.25 FIP over his last 5, 5.12 over his last 20. The stack is pretty cheap, not too far owned. Nice value. It's probably going to come up right here in values quite a bit. I think Minnesota makes some sense, allows you to pay up a little bit and get cheap. All right, there it is. Minnesota's top value stack, 2.8x. Versus Schultens makes some sense here. Look, Lugo has been good. He has been great. And Oakland does have some guys that have been hitting well lately. Does make some sense. I don't love the full 5-man stack, but you can absolutely do it. The A's versus Skubal. I'm not probably going there. I think this lineup is terrible. And Skubal's very, very good. I just don't see the leverage there to make me want to pick him. With that being said, the leverage stack of the day is absolutely the Detroit Tigers. We have seen Skubal or Canning be inconsistent. He can get got, and the Tigers, have been hitting decently, at least recently. Ceiling plays, Houston, Philly. We haven't talked about Philly at all. They are interesting, been hitting very well. Zach Thomas is solid, maybe average MLB pitcher. and the average MLB pitcher can absolutely get hit well by a team that is on fire right now. All right, so that will pretty much wrap us up. Let's hit the teams to make sure we're not missing anything. So Minnesota, third on the implied total runs list, which is interesting. KC going very low owned. Look, Javier has not been good this year, so I think it is interesting. Now, he's not allowing a ton of hard contact or high average exit velocity, but he's allowing a lot of guys on base, and then you only need a couple, hard hits to really get some scoring going. San Diego, we haven't talked about them at all. Newcomb has been very, very good lately, but that bullpen is terrible. Padres just need to get a couple hits together and get him out of the game early, and there's absolutely potential there. We haven't talked about the Brewers. I think them versus Irving is extremely interesting. The bullpen's bad. He's giving up a lot of hard contact. So he also walks a lot of guys, so letting guys on base. I think that's interesting. Cubs are interesting. Philly, we talked about all of those. So that'll do it for us, guys. You have a good one. I will be back next week. I'll be back on Tuesday with MLB Slate Breakdown. As a reminder, I am not doing them on Thursdays or Mondays, just due to NFL. All right. Good luck. Good luck this weekend. Good luck tonight. Let's win some money. I'll be back in a little bit with the NFL Slate Breakdown video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our vids. Have a good one, guys. Bye.